Pete Diamantidis, the founder of Ray White United Group. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Tim, for having me.
We're just coming up to the end of financial year, an incredible year for the United Group. About 1,300 transactions, 4,500 properties under management, over 130 staff. You must be pretty proud.
Yeah, very proud, Tim. And we've just opened our 8th office in Toongabbie.
The 8th office in Toongabbie, and just, such an incredible ambition, drive and scale. And it just brings me back to when you and I first met, when we first opened your first office in St. Mary's. You must remember that.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it was just over 5 years ago now.
So within only 5 years, we've managed to grow and scale a business that is, inside of the top 5 businesses in New South Wales, certainly the top 10 in the entire Ray White network. The question that we want to talk about today, was that always the dream? Was that always the vision? Sitting back in the unrenovated office in St. Mary's that hadn't been touched in about 25 years, where was your mind there to where it is now?
Well, at the time when I came on board, Tim, I was a salesperson. So, I only had one associate working underneath me. I was really more concerned about the back end of how real estate works, because I've never seen that. But no, I wouldn't have visioned, 5 years on, we would have, many offices, team, property managements, nearly, getting closer to 5,000. No, wouldn't have thought of that at all.
I still remember the conversations. It's interesting to talk about how your self-belief and vision of your marketplace has changed. For those that don't know, St. Mary's and the surrounding suburbs, what's the demographic? What's the average turnover, average sale price?
Average sale price, if you go into St. Mary's now for a house, you're probably looking just over $1 million. 5 years ago would have been around 650.
But it's a high volume market.
Yeah.
And you very much built a business on the back of a lot of recurring relationships, a lot of developers, repeat business. That's always been a big foundation of your, operation. And look, over the course of the last 5 years, on 3 occasions, you personally in your direct EBU have done more than 300 sales. When we first met, you were still a great operator, but again, talk to me about how you built that business from the ground up to get to 300 sales, where so few have gotten to that precipice before.
Well, Tim, the big thing for me was I could never crack over 140 sales. So being in real estate, at that period of time for, I think it was 19 years before owning a business, I could only crack 140. So I knew that I needed to get people into my team, get that EBU to be a little bit bigger, but trust them as well. So learn from me, trust, and leverage my name in the area to grow their own names. So then, if we fast forward from that period of doing 140 transactions, I think my first year with Ray White, I think it was 220, and then, we followed on to 300 and 358, and it continued on. But I think it was because I grew people in my team, which now I look back at and go, they've got their own teams, they're chairman elite operators or elite operators through Ray White. And I think it was just giving them the confidence, but leveraging from me to become their own agents.
And that's such a unique part of your growth and transition. When we first opened, the business was called Ray White, the Diamantidis Group.
Yep.
A very big decision was made to change that to the United Group,
yes,
which I think was a good shift in your mentality, taking your name off the door and giving the opportunity to others to actually grow their own name and brand within your business. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, correct. So it was always, I got to the stage where, the phones are ringing and you're like, Ray White Diamantidis Group. And I was just all the time like, why is my name still in here? At the time when I operated, when we started, I had to have my name because, I've been at one place for many years. They knew me, they didn't know the brand. So at the time, we said Ray White Diamantidis, this is great. But we got to the stage where I wanted something what meant together. I was having different ideas, and United came up because I'm a big Manchester United supporter. So I've always loved United, go to all their games whenever I can. So it came to my mind, and I said, I was tossing and turning for probably 1 year, and then made the decision it has to be United. It means all, all is one. It's not, one versus all. We're all a team, and that's what I stand for.
And tell me how the team reacted to that. They're comfortable with the Diamantidis Group. They've obviously been able to leverage your name to get their own brands out of there. One of the things that has been one of the standouts for your business's growth hasn't been your personal development, it's been your ability to grow others within your team. So, what's been the secret sauce to getting these guys that some of them have been in the industry for 5, 6, 7, 8 years? They would always sort of be averaging sort of 20, 30 deals. Now they're doing 100 plus deals.
Yep.
What's been the secret sauce to unlocking that extra volume for the guys that are in your business?
Well, I think the big thing for me, Tim, was actually sitting down to see where the roadblock was. You know, like we had people, and there's one gentleman, Josh, for example, in my team, where, you know, he's been in real estate for over 10 years, but he's always been, you know, the same. We sat down, we looked at what he was doing, you know, and there was a lot of things there where he might have been micromanaging and whatever, and we said, well, listen, we need to take this stuff away from you, and you just need to focus on the dollar productive stuff. And within that first year, jumped up, and he's continued to jump. That's just one example. So we like to sit down, dive in. You know, like me, I don't think I'm the best at everything, so there's going to be a weak spot somewhere, but, you know, delegate the weak spot to somebody else and then continue what you're good at doing.
Well, let's talk about your own delegation.
Yep.
I mean, look, you're at 8 businesses now, but you're still only one man.
Yep.
You're a husband, you're a father, you still manage to take holidays, and you've got a great life balance, but you had to bring other people along to support you. So what were some of the key roles that you've implemented throughout the course of the last few years that exist in the business today?
Yeah, so of course when we opened up, it was me, no other salespeople, just associates, you know, a property manager, and I was running the sales meetings, I was running the property management meetings, but I knew that if I needed to grow, I need to implement, you know, different positions. So again, speaking to yourself, speaking to other people in the network, the first thing was operations manager. You know, okay, well, operations, what does that do? You know, sick days, all the other type of stuff. So that took that stuff from myself and my wife, Mary, and I didn't have to worry about that. So I could still scale. Then, of course, then you're bringing the sales manager. Then you brought in now the general manager. So I brought in different people in the business, and sometimes I probably didn't need them right then, but I think we had them there, so we grew into that position. So it didn't all just fall on me. What I've seen, and in the industry, is I see a lot of people which they try to do everything themselves, but then, you know, I call it the honeymoon stage. You get to the second, third year, and then you just can't grow any further. To grow, you need to actually implement different positions where it takes the stress off yourself, then you could even grow further.
Well, let's talk about finding the right people, how you find the right people. Recruitment is one of the more challenging parts of this entire industry, but, you know, you've had some success in recruitment, you've done some successful acquisitions, but, you know, let's talk about the things you look at when you do make a successful acquisition, you know, in terms of the people, the product, the price, but, you know, specifically, every acquisition you've made has come with a great bench of good talent.
Yeah, correct. So again, we start with the first one, for example, and that's a great example. You know, it was a real estate called Australian Real Estate in St. Clair. We didn't really have much market share. And a gentleman said, I want to retire. That gentleman now, Dave Richards, is our operations manager. You know, within 1 year, I thought he was going to retire. He's now saying, I'm not retiring for another 10 years.
Wow.
So again, we've grown people into these roles. Operations, if we've got, let's say, Alex now general manager, if we've got Kim, all these roles that we've created, they've actually grown into them. You can even go down to marketing. You know, the lady in marketing, you know, originally was our admin girl, you know what I mean? So, you know, this is the good thing about it, is we're not just going to other businesses and saying, let's take their GM, we're going to put them over here. We've grown people into that position, nice. And they know, how can I say, the backbone, you know, what we stand for.
And let's talk about that acquisition and the growth, because whilst you have made acquisitions, you've also grown amazingly. I still remember a few years ago when you stood on the stage, you'd done your personal accolade, you'd done #1 agent in terms of volume inside of Ray White, which is amazing, but you were most proud of when your property management team first won the best property management business. Talk to me about what that meant to you.
Yeah, well, it was big because, you know, it all started back when we went to the first Connect conference. So that was, I think, in our first year at Ray White. And we came #2. And I was like, wow, you know, #2, you know. And we put a goal together, we wrote it all out. And so we went a bit to #1, wanted to get to #1. So, you know, we did a lot of things on the way, and we had a lot of fun in doing so. But that was a big moment because I don't, you know, coming first or second for myself, I don't care. It was always, the team awards is what I like. And to me that was big because, you know, when I left, you know, I call it my past life at another industry, another office, you know, they said, oh, you're not going to succeed in property management, you're not going to do this, not going to do that. And that was just, yeah, probably to this day, probably my biggest highlight, getting to #1 in property management.
I still remember when you first made your when you made your first acquisition, you just had your first end of month.
Yep.
And you gave me a phone call and a small panic because you had to make a massive transaction to all of your landlords and you just didn't want to mess it up.
Yep.
How far you've come from that moment?
Oh man, that was scary. Like I had no idea. You know, I had to do end of month. I had all this other stuff going on, and I was still selling. I was still growing. I was the property manager. I was the sales manager. I was everybody. I was wearing all the hats. But to have the comfort on these people in key positions, like now, you know, Tim, I go away 6 weeks a year, and not in one hit, but you know, I take time with the family. We go away, but I can still come and say comfortably, I can still sell 200 properties minimum every year, 300 properties, but I know that the business is safe because the people that I've got in there are actually looking after it like it's their own.
So now let's talk about where to from here.
Yep.
You've just opened your 8th business. We know that you've got a couple more on the horizon, which we'll save for another day.
That's it.
But in the meantime, you know, the business is now set up. You've got great agents. Retention's important, recognition's important. Talk to me about what you're doing in that space.
Okay, so recognition is a good one. So what we've done there, we've actually looked at it from the whole business perspective, from admin, property management and sales. Sales is very easy. You know, we always, you know, tag along to a lot of the events that Ray White do, like the Chairman's or the Elite or the Premier events. But PM, this will be our 3rd year running that we've got. It's called an overseas incentive comp. So last year went to Fiji, the year before went to New Zealand, this year potentially Hawaii. And what this does is it's actually a group effort and team effort that everyone participates, that the business pays for, including partners. So these are little things that we're trying to do to be a little bit different than any other business, but also have fun on the way.
So it's growth, but not just for growth's sake. So just for those that are interested, they're seeing from the outside what would look like very fast-paced growth. Talk to me about what your growth strategy is looking forward from here.
Well, strategy is always looking at, you know, at first, if you work it from property management or sales, you look at the agents. And Toongabbie is a good example. Is, you know, I had an agent that came on board. I had a vision. I said, oh, let's go more east. And I said to myself, next stop, you know, we're in Blacktown, let's go out towards Toongabbie. And what we did was we grew an agent that was wasn't there at the moment. January, had the most appraisals in the group. 2nd year on now, you know, he's sitting at number 2 in that area. So we actually backed the agent in that area. Then an opportunity comes up, we'll then acquire the business and then move and continue to move forward.
So in terms of your personal role, as you continue to build support beneath you, the business continues to expand. You mentioned that you're always going to be keeping your finger on the pulse with doing a few of your own deals. How do you see your vision, your role in the business moving forward as this continues to grow? You know, 1,300 deals this year, maybe 2,000 next year.
Yep.
How's your role going to change in the business?
Well, my role is to, you know, plan and vision. So if I'm sitting here right now and I'm looking in 12 months' time, what does it look like? Where are we going to be? Are we going to have another office? Do we have the ambition to push forward into other areas? So we plant the seed. And it's like, again, with Toongabbie, you plant the seed, 1 year later, it's all coming together. I've never had in my mind to say to myself, okay, well, this year we've done 1,300, next year I want to hit 2,000. And that's just how I've always been. If you ask me now, Pete, how many sales have you sold this year? I wouldn't have an idea. Because all I know is that we're doing better than every other year. Every year that goes past, we're increasing by 10, 20. I think 1 year, we've increased 100% more than the other year. So for me, it's just to have fun on the way. Yes, growth is important, but I think growth will automatically happen if you continue to have all the foundations that are there already.
So somewhere out there right now, there's a young, similar Peter Diamantidis that's looking at what you've done and says, man, I would love to do this for me, myself, my team, my family. What advice would you give someone that's looked at your growth that's hoping to aspire to do the same thing?
Well, I would be saying that you need to start from the beginning. There's no shortcuts in this, so you've got to put a lot of hours in, but don't just look at it for the money. You know, a lot of people go in there and go, I want to own a business, I want to, you know, I'm going to grow because I want to earn a lot of money. But it's about the people that you actually come on board in that journey, the retention of those people, because if you don't treat them well, if you don't hire well, you're not going to be able to grow from 2 to 5 or 5 to 10 and continue on. And if you look at any good business, if it's us or anyone else in the network, you'll see that there's long retention in key staff that actually help grow to that next stage. So recruitment is very important, but also having the vision looking forward.
Final question. We're in a market where a lot of changes happen, budget changes have happened. What's happening overseas is always creating uncertainty. Obviously, legislation changes are going on. In a time where our industry is being impacted by so much change, what's been your vision, or what's been your communication to your team to keep them focused on the controllables? Well,
it's the support, because you've got to remember, a lot of these people have not seen a downturn. If you've been in real estate for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're probably thinking, what's going on? So it's actually checking up on them. I actually check on a lot of our salespeople daily, make sure they're okay, because there's going to be a lot more losses than wins at the moment, but just keeping their team spirit up, a lot more training, a lot more communication, a lot more face-to-face with them, and then working on how I have seen, working for the GFC, for example, giving them my experience and saying, this isn't bad, guys. Back in 2005, we were selling 1 property every 2 months. So, giving them a little bit more support to know that I've been there and I'm going to show you how we can navigate through this.
Well, Pete, to you, the entire team that have played such a pivotal role in the last 12 months, congratulations on a great year for Ray White United Group.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me on board.